Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Grizzly Peaks National Park Build Series, a collaborative project between myself, Solaris, and the amazing and talented Booter. So, as you know, we were working on the Ticket Plaza toll booth contraption in our last part 1 video. And just due to how long I knew that the construction process was going to be, I decided that it was probably best if we broke it up into 2 separate sections. So what I'm doing now actually is just kind of starting to construct the roof using a lot of the haunted house beams and the wooden pillar, kind of a combination of the two with just different colors. Really helps, offset that rustic look that I'm trying to go for with that. As you can see, I'm definitely having a little bit of problems with trying to angle this roof out. I just wanted to do something a little bit different, and I think from what I had originally wanted to do with this park being based off of Yellowstone National Park here in the States is that I kind of wanted to just, I guess, go for a more Nordic vibe, I guess you can say, or a combination thereof. And so that's kind of what I decided to do with tilting the roofs forwards and backwards, as you'll see, at a 15-degree angle. And I think I'm just kind of, I'm just going to go with that form just because I think that it's probably the best way to execute what I'm trying to do with this toll plaza. So one of the cool things I would have to say just in general about this project is just how rustic and just how different this is going to be in comparison to a lot of the amusement park builds that you see out there. We're definitely going for, like I said in the last video, a more subtle approach to, Planet Coaster, with focusing more on, scenery, landscaping, and foliage. Kind of in the background, I've actually done some work a little bit on the mountain, which at the end of this video, you'll be able to see a pretty decent cinematic just to kind of where we're going at with the surrounding area. This is also the Alpine scenario, so you'll see automatically in the background there's beautiful mountains, and we're just going to add to that in the actual park map. Kind of using right here the wooden, the haunted house wood planks. Those are great for roofing, and I think once you start to place each of these pieces, you want to kind of use that advanced control movement and use your axis controllers to kind of navigate with any curved guideline per se or beam that you're trying to follow. I think that's one of the hardest things when it comes to the game, is just trying to navigate. Once you place certain pieces, it kind of throws you off of the regular, like the move axis or the advanced move axis, so you have to go into the world rotation mode. It's a bunch of different confusing things, so you want to make sure that you kind of move pieces accordingly so that you kind of get the best in terms of just getting the easy rotation to get those pieces placed on your roofing, or for any building for that matter. One of the really challenging problems I had here was at the edge. You'll see just getting those pieces to not come through on the other side of that wooden beam. One of the quick fixes that I decided to do for this is to actually double up on my ridge for that roof, which you'll see shortly. And just that also kind of hides a lot of those, wooden pieces kind of sticking out. I just think that really does, wonders for trying to, hide pieces and just, I don't know, just trying to make a little bit more, even and symmetrical and just a clean look to it. With that being said, funny enough, I said clean look, but we're also doing a rustic look. So, there's a way to, a tactful way to, do the rustic thing. So definitely, if you have anything that you need to hide or anything, use more pieces. You can never have too many pieces. Well, you can, but so once everything is kind of over and done with one, you can just slide the rest on over, of course. You want to make sure that you kind of stay even and symmetrical with the first one so that it's really easy for you to, copy over what you need to copy, duplicate it however you need to duplicate it. And it's just a real simple, easy, trick on just navigating, like, okay, this is what I need to do to make sure all three, in this case, is 3 lanes, are perfectly even with what I'm trying to achieve here. Right now I'm actually working on that second ridge that I was talking about, just to kind of hide the wood coming through on that back lower ridge. It's just a little small shortcut way just to kind of implement a lot of the little hidden things that you have. Try to also, with those being, obviously rectangular prisms, you want to make sure that you line them up the best way you possibly can. One of the easiest tips for that would be just to, when you are on advanced move mode, use that white dot that you have as the axis focal point and guide yourself along with that from piece to piece. It makes moving objects so much easier, and to make sure that they're connecting the right way, and just overall they have a decent flow to how you're connecting those pieces, especially on curves with rectangular pieces. That's a little more challenging, but just learning and manipulating those moving axes, that really will help you try to get to a better spot or position to allow yourself to line everything up very nicely and neatly. So one of the big inspirations for this build was, I think I referenced in the last video, was that we are doing, from Yellowstone National Park, there's a structure called the East Entrance, which is also a toll booth or access pass lane. And I liked the way it looked. It was a little bit more blocky than I wanted to do. I still wanted to have a little bit of, character and a little bit more of an architectural, I guess you can say, feng shui, a very nice feng shui, just to kind of achieve this look. So I kind of decided I wasn't going to follow the blockiness of the actual Yellowstone National Park building. I wanted to do this one on just a little bit of a similar scale, but just with my own twist to it, I guess you can say. And I really at this point had decided that this is where I was like, what, we're going to go a little bit more Nordic, but still keep to the states alpine region. Or actually, this is also going to be kind of based a little bit off of Jasper National Park up in Canada as well. So we're taking a conglomeracy of a bunch of different parks just to kind of get this look that we're working with here. Once again, as you copy and paste a lot of these ridges, make sure that everything's lined up as best as it possibly can be with that first example, and then you just kind of slide everything over. It's the easiest thing when it comes to duplicating a bunch of different pieces, or a bunch of the same pieces, just to kind of give you that more finished look. One of the things that I did was just make sure everything was lined up as I was moving it over, adjusting it from forwards to backwards, and just making sure it all lined up with that second ridge below there. So to kind of also hide how the roofs are connecting, and as you see, there's a slight overlap up at near that top pillar where the roofs connect from the first lane to the second lane. I want a little quick thing just to hide those. In this case, add more wood to it. So one of the best pieces of advice I can always give to anybody is just, if you feel like you need to hide a certain thing, or you just need to hide something, just because you're not 100% okay with the way it looks, you can always just add a little bit more pieces to it. Just make sure those pieces are used in a similar taste and style to the rest of your build. With the lanes, I really wanted to establish kind of a difference between, obviously, the concrete gravel, not gravel, but the concrete road going into what is going to be the actual park itself. So on both sides of the toll plaza, you'll see there's like a small ditch, which will include, a bunch of rocks, foliage, bushes, trees, a little bit of shading with the terraforming tool or the terrain tool, and just to kind of give you an insight into it being just more of a natural look, so that it just looks like the toll plaza was built within this area, not the area built around the toll structure. That's part of the biggest thing with what Booter and I are going to really try to accomplish with this series, is to remember that Mother Nature does its work and does the best work when it comes to aesthetics and overall beauty with the park. We just, as humans, we're just putting a little bit of more of a convenience to it, I guess you can say, and just so it can be more interacting with the public, with people. So I really wanted to take that mentality and keep that as I'm building, to understand that everything else is there. Nature is there. We're just building around it or in it. So that's going to be something that also really helps you if you are looking at wanting to keep a more natural build. Just keep that in the back of your mind as you are constructing stuff, especially with foliage and scenery items. So I also wanted to add a little bit of lighting into the booths themselves. It's going to be very minimalistic lighting. I didn't want anything that's going to flood out the guest, pretty much the guest experience here as they are, getting in their passes and everything. I wanted to ensure that it would just be kind of a luminescence, so to speak, to just kind of give off a glow within the toll booths. And I'll show you a little secret to that a little later in the video. We'll get to kind of what I do when it comes to having a little bit more of a natural lighting effect. Planet Coaster, unfortunately, is very, very guilty with having lighting that's a very, very harsh, bright lighting. But again, we'll get to that in just a little bit to help you with that. Another thing I do, apart from just looking at more natural lighting, is I also go to the electrical boxes, which are all TMTK items. And what these really do is just add a little bit more of dimension of realism to your park. It just helps increase the amount of details that you have that can sometimes go over, unnoticed or overlooked in regular park builds. Even in Ventura Kingdom, there is a lot of minor details in that until you look at it up close, you wouldn't be able to see just how much, peculiarities and, particulars are actually in that park. So just, one of the side notes is that the smaller the details you add, they're not going to go unnoticed. It's just, it helps kind of get you into a more immersive environment. Once you put this on the Steam Workshop, people get into your park, they'll be able to say, oh my gosh, look at all the details. That really does make or break, I think, a kind of more of a finessed finish to your park. With the Toll Booth Plaza, I'm just adding in a bunch of small, little small TMTK items, such as a little payphone, cones. I did add in those back electrical boxes, a trash can just for, while you're going through the, park service toll, the toll plaza. I can't talk today. That way you can just toss in trash or whatever, what have you. And also adding in a few of the barriers just to kind of have as, just extra backstock for the employees that work there, in case they need to block off a lane. Again, this isn't a functional toll plaza, but it is going to help us achieve kind of the more realistic look that we're trying to go for. Just overall with the way everything's flowing and how you access the park itself, the national park itself. After this, Booter is actually going to be working on the visitor center that we are going to have on the other side of the park. Well, not quite on the other side, but the road from this toll plaza is going to take you directly to that visitor center. So one of the biggest things that I wanted to do is to continue on with the lanes and make sure that we got those lines over on the other side, the exit, if you will, of that toll plaza, to ensure that once you leave your lane, or once you leave the plaza, you still have lanes to follow, because, here in America, everyone's driving's a little off, so you have to kind of give them some guidance, and even then that's still questionable with the lanes. So we're definitely going to try to keep it to the American standard of road rules here, just to also again help with the realistic approach that we're trying to do for the national park here in the States. After I did those road lines, one of the biggest things that I like to do once I get a pretty decent awareness of what this area is going to look like is focus on my lighting. So going into that lighting trick that I tell you, just depending on the amount of lighting that you want, the area lights are really good lighting for any area that you're trying to illuminate, obviously, but I always want to go into a semi yellowish tinge, but then darken it down to the dark parts of that color block, just because it doesn't give you that harsh, really bright, overbloomed, appearance that a lot of people do tend to have when it comes to their parks. This is actually a very short way just to be able to get the area illuminated with a more natural feel to the light. And that's just something that I always have done with my park builds. Obviously, if you're wanting a more brighter look or a more bloomy look, if you will, definitely go full out with that lighting. But I do know that sometimes Planet Coaster lighting, its game lighting, is very, very harsh. So just be wary if you're trying to go for a more natural look. After pretty much the toll plaza itself is done at this point. So what I'm doing now is just going in and just filling in that side area leading into the side ditches there. We're gonna, I'm kind of blending in with the terrain tool with some rock filling, dirt filling, and grass filling. And then I'm also gonna add in a bunch of smaller rocks, some of the bushes, just to give, again, more of that natural look from going, nature is already there. We're just adding, the road was built around it or through it. So we don't want to disrupt the nature that's already been there. We are wanting to just minimally, as small as possible, add our little flair to it so that it's accessible to the population. So again, keep in mind that if you are going to go for any form of an amusement park or national park like we're doing, or a more scenic area, just ensure that your natural look to it is just going to be, it's not going to be overrun by a lot of, just blank area. You want to put as much nature around as you possibly can, especially in a park scenario. The more you have and the smaller of the details you're looking at, so the smaller rocks, the smaller bushes, the smaller trees, that's going to really help with your nature overall feel and just more of a natural look to it. So definitely do that when it comes to the blending of what humans have constructed and what Mother Nature has already had in place there. One of the trickiest things that I definitely have noticed with this particular park that I'm doing is just trying to keep the amount of trees and the type of trees very, very natural looking. Obviously in the alpine regions of United States and Canada, it's definitely focused on alpine trees. So a lot of your spruce trees, your fir trees, your pine trees, those are going to be your biggest ones that they have, lining the mountains around lakes, rivers, or whatever in that, in that environment. So with the game, obviously having very, very limited ability to create a lot of those pine trees and stuff like that. I think the game only has 4 different variations. You have to really pick and choose where you can apply other types of trees as well to continue, like I said, to have a natural look, but also at the same time you want to be sure that you're not putting obviously an oak tree in the middle of a bunch of pine trees. That just aesthetically, that doesn't flow right, and you just want to make sure that you can stay up with keeping the realism there. Do a little bit of research when it comes to, what trees are going to grow in the environment that I picked. It never hurts to do a little research or planning for any park. And we're just continuing the road lines from the entrance through the toll plaza themselves. Again, like I said, we're going to be looking at the visitor center next. And hopefully we'll also have a few more mountains and stuff added in. Terrain work in itself is a very big challenge, so I'm hoping to actually get a video or 2 up about that. And again, this is going to be the finished overall look of the toll plaza itself. It's been a great, small little build, nothing too over the top, a little bit more minimal than I'm used to building, but I think it gets the point across, and I really can't say thank you all enough for tuning in and watching. And we will continue on with this Grizzly Peaks National Park build with the visitor center next week. So please stay tuned. And if you haven't already, please subscribe below. If you have any comments or suggestions, please let us know below in the video. And we will see you soon. From here on out, Solaris out.